1970s was a time when the world was taking crazy turns. Oil crisis, inflation, rising living costs, and outburst of lethal drugs like cocaine was everywhere in the United States. While many saw this epidemic of drugs dangerous, a few saw opportunity to make a fortune that can take a common man 10 lifetimes to come close to, let alone a woman who made $2 billion at the end of her drug race. This is the story of Griselda Blanco, a Miami drug lord known as the Black Widow, who made her name in the world of narcotics, murder, and power. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are going to talk about Miami's ruthless drug lord, who took her fair share of power, fame, and wealth in the male-dominated drug underworld. Griselda Blanco's story begins in the poverty-stricken streets of Medellin, Colombia, where she started with nothing. Despite the odds against her, Blanco fought fiercely to climb the ranks of the drug cartel world. She emerged as one of the most formidable and feared figures in the history of narcotics trafficking. Born in 1943 in Cartagena, a bustling port city in Colombia, but her childhood was anything but idyllic. When she was just 3 years old, Blanco, along with her mother Anna, moved to Medellin, a city that would shape her into the notorious figure she would become. This move exposed her to a life filled with crime from an incredibly young age. Growing up in Medellin, poverty was Blanco's constant companion, adhering to her as if it were a part of her very essence. The streets, rife with crime, became both her educator and battlefield. It was in these harsh conditions that Blanco reportedly committed her first act of murder at the tender age of 11, targeting a boy from a more affluent neighborhood, simply because his family failed to meet a ransom demand. She was driven by sheer ambition and a ruthless approach to her business and rivals. Blanco, infamously known as the Black Widow, earned her nickname due to the mysterious deaths of 3 of her 4 husbands, highlighting her merciless nature. In the 1980s, Blanco's name became synonymous with the drug trade. She was a pioneer in the cocaine trafficking industry, working for the notorious Medellin cartel. She designed special undergarments to help smuggle cocaine across borders, significantly boosting the cartel's operations in both South and North America. A childhood friend of the infamous Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar, Blanco formed a powerful alliance that would terrorize many. Her reputation was built on fear and respect. She was known to be one of the deadliest crime bosses, with over 200 murders committed by her direct orders. These weren't just rival gang members. Men, women, and even children were among her victims. At the height of her power, Blanco's net worth was estimated at an astounding $2 billion. She invested heavily in real estate, amassing properties worth over $500 million. However, her empire began to crumble when American authorities started to take notice, seizing $120 million worth of her assets. Blanco started as a pickpocket and thief, surviving on the streets fighting for her life, took a different course at the age of 19 when she fled from the abusive boyfriend of her mother, seeking refuge in the very streets that taught her to fend for herself. The trajectory of Blanco's life shifted dramatically when she met her second husband, Alberto Bravo, who was involved in the marijuana trade outside of Colombia. This relationship marked Blanco's formal induction into the drug trade. Together, they laid the foundation for a business that would not only flourish, but also lead them to the United States, where they tapped into the exploding cocaine market. This partnership was the beginning of Blanco's ascent to becoming one of the most formidable names in the international drug trafficking scene. The couple knew their way around deception, creating false documents that allowed them to relocate to the United States in the mid-1970s. It was there, particularly in New York, that they expanded their operations, establishing a significant cocaine distribution network. However, their criminal empire faced a major setback in 1975 when they, along with numerous associates, were indicted on federal drug conspiracy charges. Blanco fled back to Colombia amidst the chaos, while Bravo met his end in a dramatic shootout with Blanco herself, stemming from a bitter dispute over their illicit business dealings. Blanco made her way back to the United States in the late 1970s, this time setting her sights on Miami, Florida. There, she ascended to the role of a drug lord and ignited a series of drug wars that bathed the city in violence and fear. Her methods were ruthless and innovative. She was notorious for employing motorcycle-riding assassins and utilizing ingenious methods for smuggling and executing her enemies, including the notorious use of underwear bombs. Blanco's criminal enterprise was astonishing in its scope, responsible for importing as much as 3 tons of cocaine into the United States every month. This lucrative operation made her an estimated $80 million a month. However, bigger they are, harder they fall, and Blanco was no different. In 1984, her empire crumbled when she was apprehended in California following an extensive investigation by the DEA. Facing charges of conspiring to import and distribute cocaine, Blanco was sentenced to 15 years in prison. Her incarceration, however, was cut short. She served only 10 years before striking a deal with prosecutors in 1994. In this agreement, she pleaded guilty to 3 murders that occurred in Miami, which led to an additional 10-year sentence. Despite being behind bars, Blanco's influence remained undiminished. She ingeniously continued to oversee her drug empire with the assistance of her son, Michael Corleone Blanco. Blanco's imprisonment ended in 2004, after which she was deported back to Colombia. There, she adopted a low-profile lifestyle, but the shadow of her past actions lingered, leading to a grim conclusion to her life story. On September 3, 2012, Blanco's met her fate the same way she had sent many to afterlife. While shopping for meat at a butcher shop with her pregnant daughter-in-law, she was assassinated by a gunman on a motorcycle. She took 2 shots, one on her head and one on her shoulder, coming back to a full circle of poetic justice. This method of assassination, which she had popularized during the Miami drug war, ultimately led to her own demise, marking the end of one of the most infamous figures in the history of drug trafficking. With that, we have come to an end for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching the life story of one of the most notorious figures in the world, drug trade. Thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, hit subscribe for more videos like this in the future. I will see you in the next one.